Welcome to our discussion of Parshat Tazria-Metzora, digging in at home. If we look in the Haftorah for this week's Parsha, it mentions Ish ba mibal shal isha, fellow came, vayavela ish Elokim, he brought some gifts to the man of God, to Elisha. He brought lechem bikurim esrim lechem sorim, 20 loaves of barley wheat. Not the best wheat, but it's good enough. No. There's also some parched grain. So he said, 20 grain, 20 bread, let him eat. He says, what do you mean? How can I? I can't give this to 100 people. 20 loaves of bread is not good enough for 100 people. Give it to them. So he gave it to them, and sure enough, they ate, and they had leftovers, just like God said. Matter of fact, many Sephardic Jews read this pasuk at the end of every meal, that we ate, we had leftover, just like the Word of God. Sometimes we don't have that much left over, but there's something left over. That is just like Hashem says. Sometimes we have a tremendous amount left over. As people in the modern era, it's unbelievable how much is in our pantry, what's in our freezer. Even during these COVID times, there's a lot left over, and we thank God for that. It's a special blessing. But reading about Elisha and these stories in this Haftorah reminds us of a different Haftorah, also Malachim Bet, also Perek Daled, where there was a wife of one of the prophets, and of course as a prophet he probably didn't make much money, and so she was very concerned. She was widowed from him, and she said, they're coming to take my children, the creditors are coming, what am I going to do? So he says, look, tell me, what do you have in the house? He says, I got nothing. He says, I have one little bit of oil in a jug. He says, I'll tell you what, why don't you borrow some other jugs and then pour out from that jug and see what happens. So she borrows a bunch of jugs and she tries the trick. She pours the jug and she says to her son, bring me some more jugs. She keeps pouring. It's like that, the end of the shampoo bottle, the end of the ketchup bottle, you keep pouring and there's always a little bit more left. So she says, but it's filling up all these other vessels. She fills it up. Come on, give me more. But alas, she didn't bring enough vessels. So she said, give me more. And the children said, we didn't bring that many vessels. And then the oil stopped. So then with that, she was able to pay off all the creditors. And then she was able to live. In other words, these two stories show the idea that if we dig deep enough, we can find resources within ourselves that we have enough. Instead of the prophet performing some miracle and saying, oh, you're poor? Don't worry about it. Tomorrow someone will come to your door, give you $1 million. No. He said to her, you can fill up with what you have. You can make it work. There are times when people face extreme poverty and it doesn't work. But for most of us, there's something, if we dig deep enough in our resources, we can find enough. These COVID times, we're very often locked in our homes with our families, and the question is, can we find enough joy and enough energy and enough simcha in each other? And the idea is that we can dig deeper and we can find those treasures. Some people are alone, and that's really challenging. How do you dig there? And how do you find solitude within yourself? And how do you find how to make yourself happy? And is it reaching out to others? Is it others reaching out to you? In terms of finding ourselves. Of course, Rashi on this week's Parsha talks a lot about finding a treasure in your home. Because he says, you'll come, Tazria-Metzora, you'll come to the land that God gives you, and gee, thanks a lot. God says, when I bring you to the land of Israel, you're going to have a blemish in your house, and you'll ask the Kohen, he'll say, yeah, you got a blemish. They'll knock down the house, and what's going on here? God is telling us we're coming to Israel, we're going to have blemishes, and going to knock down our houses? So Rashi says, no, you have to understand. The Amorian, the Amorites, the Canaanites, they knew you were coming in the 40 years in the desert. So they said, the Jews are coming, we better bury our treasures. So they took the treasures, buried them in the wall. The Kohen comes, sees the leprosy, knocks down the wall, and sure enough, you've got a treasure. So right there in your house, you had a beautiful treasure. The other part of the Haftorah also brings out this point as well. That wonderful girl from the land of Israel, she said she was a slave for one of the people up north, the general's wife. The general had leprosy. So she said, honey, I know, she said to her mistress, I know that your husband has leprosy. I'm sure it's not too pleasant for you. You've been complaining about it ever since I knew you. Why don't you go to the land of Israel? They have a prophet, and he'll cure you. You won't have to worry about it. So she says, she tells her husband, there's a fellow in Israel who can cure you. And he comes to Israel, and sure enough, he says, dunk yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and you'll be cured. And the fellow, he mocked the general Naaman, he mocked it. He said, a river, we've got better rivers in Damascus. I need to come here to Israel. The Jordan River, it's a joke. It's a little tiny stream. That's what I need to come here for. So they said, no, do it. Try. Why don't you give it a try? He tried to dunk 7 times. Sure enough, his skin turned perfect. And this tells us about something with the treasures of the land of Israel and the beautiful treasures that are buried in the land of Israel. It's there for us. In our puny little Jordan River, treasure is buried. In the land of Israel, Ish Navi Israel. The king was worried. The general is coming. He wants us to cure him from his leprosy. What are we going to do? So the prophet says, don't worry about it. Yesh Navi Israel. We're not a nation that's bereft of everything. We've got a Navi. We have a prophet in Israel. The Haftorahs and the stories in Kings 2, in Lachim Bet, stories of Elisha, stories of Haftorah, story of the leprosy in the wall. It all tells us that we have within ourselves enough resources. You are always enough. There's enough within you, within your family, within your home. You can find the food, hopefully, if you're not living in extreme poverty. There's something there. Maybe you couldn't get the steaks you wanted to get this week, or the certain cereals, you didn't want to go shopping too much. You know what, you can make do, you can find something. My daughter put some strawberries together and she made a shake, she found something to make. There's something there in your refrigerator and you can make something of it. Something there in your cupboard, you can make something out of it. And within our homes, within ourselves, we can find the inner resources to face challenges, to bring pleasure to ourselves, to others. Sometimes the best pleasure we can bring to ourselves is to help others. It makes us feel better as well. Our treasure is found within. We have to dig a little more deeply. We have to look inside those walls. There are treasures yet buried inside of ourselves. We find some quiet time for ourselves and close our eyes and think deeply and meditate with Hashem. We can find great treasures inside. Our job is to make those treasures come out of the walls, come out from within ourselves. We can keep pouring in that jug. There's a little more left in that jug of our souls, the jug of our personalities. We can find some more resources within there. There's a lot of other names in that Rolodex, in that phone list, in your contact list. There's some names, people you haven't called recently, people who could use a call. You can call them and you can find inner happiness from within those walls. Let's hope that even during these times of COVID, people stranded in their homes, people not knowing what to do, people having a lot of anxiety. Let's hope that we can find the inner resources within ourselves and our homes to make it through these times. And God willing, vayochlu vayotiru kidvar Hashem, not only will we find what to eat, but we'll have leftover, and that we can share with others, just like Hashem said. Thank you for joining us here at Anshe Sefard Beth 11th Congregation. Join us for our discussion of the Parsha and various holidays. We have a special discussion about the meaning of Tzaraat. You can check out our videos about that, one teaching from this week and one from 2009, where we had a three-part series about it. Enjoy it and have a great Shabbos.